Welcome back to PI Time. In this episode, we will discuss balancing the inner and outer worlds. Balance is a word we hear often, but it can feel elusive, especially in a world that constantly asks us to do more, give more, and achieve more. Finding harmony between the inner world, our thoughts, feelings, and essence, and the outer world, our actions, responsibilities, and relationships, is not about perfection. It's about rhythm, awareness, and gentle alignment. Think of it as walking on a tightrope. On one side, there's giving, doing, and striving. On the other, there's receiving, being, and stillness. Too far in one direction, and you feel depleted. Too far in the other, and life can feel stagnant, or disconnected. True balance happens in the subtle interplay, in noticing what each moment calls for. Let me share a story about a man named Leif. Leif was a dedicated teacher, who loved his work and his students. But he often stayed late, taking on more than he could handle. At home, he was exhausted, disconnected from his own passions, and even his relationships felt strained. One day, after a particularly long week, he felt a quiet, but insistent tug. I need to pause. Leif decided to experiment. Each evening, he spent 10 minutes sitting quietly, noticing his breath and his thoughts, without planning or problem solving. Initially, it felt uncomfortable. The stillness highlighted all the tension he had ignored. But gradually, he began to notice a difference. He was more patient with his students, more present with his family, and even discovered small moments of joy in his hobbies. By allowing his inner world to be seen and tended to, his outer life began to flow more harmoniously. Take a slow, deep breath, and consider your own balance. Where do you feel stretched toward doing, giving, or striving? Where do you feel a pull, to rest, receive, or simply be? Notice, without judgment. Awareness is the first step toward alignment. Balance also means noticing the dance between effort and surrender. Consider Amara, a young entrepreneur, ambitious, creative, and driven. She often pushed herself to exhaustion, believing that constant effort was the only path to success. Amara's breakthrough came when she allowed herself to delegate a few responsibilities and trust her team. At first, it felt risky, like she might lose control. But in releasing some of the outer demands, she discovered that her inner creativity and inspiration flourished. Her best ideas came not from working harder, but from creating space to receive insight, rest, and clarity. For listeners, you can try this exercise. Choose one small task or responsibility that you usually take on yourself, let it go, even briefly, and observe what happens. Notice how your energy shifts when you allow space for receiving and being, instead of only doing. Another layer of balance involves giving and receiving in relationships. Thorin, a community volunteer, loved helping others. He devoted hours each week to supporting people in need, yet he rarely allowed himself to ask for help. Over time, Thorin noticed a creeping exhaustion and a sense of resentment that he didn't understand. With guidance from a mentor, he began small. Simply asking a friend to join him in a project, accepting support, and noticing the joy of shared effort. The act of receiving did not diminish his generosity, it enhanced it. Notice one area in your life where you are giving more than you receive. What would it look like to accept help, support, or nourishment in that space? Even a small shift can ripple into your overall sense of harmony. Balance also includes reconciling the tension between striving and stillness. Many of us are conditioned to measure success by what we accomplish, rather than how we feel in the process. Yet the inner world thrives in stillness, in reflection, meditation, or quiet moments that nurture awareness and clarity. The outer world often requires action, decisions, and movement. True harmony emerges when we honor both, acting with intention, while also resting and allowing. Take a moment now. When was the last time you allowed yourself to fully rest, without guilt? When was the last time you simply observed your own thoughts, feelings, and sensations, without immediately acting on them? Allowing stillness is not inactivity, it is the foundation for more authentic, effective, and compassionate action in the world. Another person I want to share about is Soren, a young artist, who poured himself into his creative projects. He loved expressing himself through painting, but he often ignored his own emotional needs in the process. Soren felt that if he wasn't constantly creating, he was failing. Over time, the weight of expectation led to frustration and burnout. One afternoon, he decided to step back. He spent the day walking in nature, noticing the colors, textures, and sounds around him. He allowed himself to feel the wind on his skin, the rhythm of his footsteps, and the quiet in his mind. That day, Soren realized that his creativity was not diminished by stillness. In fact, it was nourished by it. The inner world, when tended to, fueled his outer expression in a richer, more vibrant way. Try this now. Take 10 minutes to engage in a quiet activity, a walk, gentle stretch, or simply observing your surroundings. Focus on what your senses notice, and let yourself be present, without rushing to do anything else. Balance also involves understanding the rhythm of giving and receiving within ourselves. Sometimes, the inner and outer worlds clash, because we are giving to everyone else, while neglecting our own needs. Ira, a nurse who worked long shifts at the hospital, was always attentive to her patients, her colleagues, and her family. She prided herself on being dependable and strong, but she rarely acknowledged her own exhaustion. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, she felt a wave of emptiness. She decided to write a short note to herself, listing 3 things that had given her joy that day, no matter how small. It could be a smile from a patient, a moment of laughter with a coworker, or a quiet cup of tea. That simple act of receiving her own recognition shifted her energy, reminding her that her inner world deserved attention, as much as her outer contributions. Try this. Write down 3 small moments of satisfaction, joy, or accomplishment from your day. Allow yourself to fully receive the value of these moments, and notice how it shifts your awareness of balance. Another aspect of harmony between inner and outer worlds is intention and action. Often, we move through life on autopilot, driven by external pressures, habits, or societal expectations. True balance asks us to act with awareness, to align our outer actions with the quiet guidance of our inner voice. Leona, a community organizer, spent years following a checklist of what she thought she should do for others. She was effective, but increasingly disconnected from her own values. One morning, she paused before a meeting and asked herself, "Does this choice reflect what I truly believe and care about?" That simple question changed the way she approached her work, making her efforts more intentional and fulfilling. Try this reflection. Before your next task, meeting, or conversation, pause and ask yourself if this action aligns with your inner values. Observe what arises, and let that awareness guide your choices. The interplay of striving and stillness, doing and being, giving and receiving, is ongoing. It is not something to achieve once and be done with. Each day offers new moments to notice imbalance, to readjust, and to nurture both worlds. Awareness is the bridge between inner and outer harmony. Consider Callan, a writer, who felt torn between deadlines and personal fulfillment. He spent mornings focused on client work, and evenings attempting personal writing projects. The exhaustion mounted, until he began to listen to subtle cues from his body: fatigue, tension, and distraction. Callan implemented short pauses every few hours, taking 5 minutes to breathe, stretch, or simply close his eyes. These small interludes gave him clarity, renewed focus, and a sense of calm, enabling him to navigate both worlds more effectively. Take a moment now, notice your own body. Where do you feel tension, tightness, or fatigue? Even a small pause to breathe, or stretch, can create space for balance and clarity between your inner and outer worlds. Balance is also about understanding that both worlds are interconnected. Nurturing the inner world naturally supports the outer world, and vice versa. When we honor our needs, feelings, and rhythms, our actions in the world flow more effortlessly. When we approach the outer world with awareness, we bring a grounded sense of presence inward. Amiel, a teacher and mentor, found that dedicating 20 minutes each morning to quiet meditation helped him approach his busy days with patience and focus. He was more present for his students, more compassionate in meetings, and more attuned to his own emotional needs. You can create a small daily ritual of awareness. Set aside 5 to 20 minutes each day for meditation, reflection, or simply sitting quietly. Notice how this inner alignment influences the way you show up in your outer world. Another dimension of balancing the inner and outer worlds is learning to release control. Many of us hold tight to schedules, expectations, and outcomes, believing that control will ensure stability. In reality, balance emerges when we allow life to flow, while staying attuned to our own inner guidance. Yara, a project manager, discovered this when she delegated part of a major project to her team. Initially, she felt anxious and uncertain. As the project progressed, she observed the team's creativity and capability, and felt relief and trust. By letting go of rigid control, she found a more natural rhythm between responsibility and surrender. Reflect as you listen. Is there one area in your life where releasing control might create more harmony? Observe the feelings that arise, and allow yourself to experiment with small shifts in trust and flow. Balancing the inner and outer worlds also requires cultivating patience. The process cannot be rushed, and it does not unfold perfectly. Each day offers opportunities to notice tension, fatigue, or misalignment, and gently correct course. Tavish, a musician and healer, spent years chasing success, while neglecting self-care. When he began integrating daily moments of reflection, movement, and conscious action, he noticed a steady sense of equilibrium. Small, consistent adjustments over time produced greater harmony than drastic, short-lived changes ever could. While reflecting on Tavish's story, consider one small adjustment you can make today to nurture your inner world or align your outer actions with your truth. This could be taking a short pause, saying no to a non-essential task, or dedicating a few minutes to an activity that nourishes your soul. Balance is not static. It is dynamic, like the rhythm of waves on the shore, ebbing and flowing, advancing and retreating. There will be days when the outer world demands more, and other days when inner reflection and stillness are needed. The key is noticing the rhythm and responding with awareness, rather than resistance. Take a moment now to breathe deeply. Notice the spaces between your thoughts, the sensations in your body, and the energy you carry. Reflect on one action you can take today to bring more harmony between your inner and outer worlds. As we approach the close of this episode, I want to leave you with a gentle invitation. Observe your life without judgment. Notice where doing overtakes being, giving overtakes receiving, or striving overtakes stillness. Allow yourself to adjust, step by step, with compassion and curiosity. Balance is not perfection, it is awareness, presence, and care for both yourself and the world around you. Take one final deep breath. Whisper to yourself, I honor my inner world. I honor my outer world. I am present in both. I am enough. Thank you for joining me today on this journey. I'm Faith Harmony, and this has been PI Time, your space to awaken, reflect, and step more fully into your truth.